So now it's my honor to introduce our first speaker of tonight. It's Dr. Aleksandra Niedzwiecki. She served as a CEO and Director of Research at Rath Research Institute in California. She earned a Ph.D. degree in biochemistry at the University of Warsaw. She worked with 2 Nobel laureates and conducted at several leading universities, like the Rockefeller University of New York, the University of Toronto. And her areas of scientific expertise, they include molecular aspects of aging, cellular metabolism, nutrition, cardiovascular disease, and cancer. So as you will notice, it's pretty broad. She won several awards for her research, and she has been involved in all kinds of educational programs around the world. She's a fellow of the American College of Nutrition, and she's a member of the American Heart Association, the American Society for Cell Biology, and the American Academy for the Advancement of Science. And today she will outline the cellular origin of many diseases, like cardiovascular disease, cancer, infectious disease. And apart from that, she will introduce the concept of micronutrient synergy as a new health approach resulting in increased efficacy of various micronutrient combinations as they simultaneously address several cellular pathologies. So now I would like to invite Dr. Niedzwiecki.
Thank you, Bauke. It was a very long list and long introduction. Good evening. Welcome to our science forum and also to a breathtaking perspective of a world in which our most common diseases can be prevented or ameliorated based on the knowledge presented to you today. Today, our most common diseases, including cardiovascular disease and cancer, take the lives of 3 out of 4 people in Europe and in major parts of the world. The fact that they continue to occur in epidemic proportions tells us that the underlying causes are not fully understood. And at our Research Institute for Cellular Medicine in California, we took this as a challenge. We dedicated all of our research efforts to understanding regulatory processes associated with various pathologies at the cellular level. And also we have developed innovative approaches to solve a variety of our most common health problems. We have been testing natural substances, such as vitamins, minerals, and bioactive plant components to correct and restore the optimum function of cells with amazing and really exciting results. Based on, because of its focus on the cellular level, this new field is called cellular medicine. This is not the first time in the history of medicine that significant breakthroughs which pave the way to eradicate diseases do not come from the towers of established scientific institutions and the followers of conventional approaches, but from people who dare to ask difficult questions and develop inventive paradigms to challenge the status quo. It has been over 2 decades since Dr. Rath, a close collaborator and a friend of 2 times Nobel Prize winner Linus Pauling, published his discoveries on the origin of cardiovascular disease in the Proceeding of the National Academy of Sciences, USA. His discoveries are not limited to cardiovascular disease. They also include pioneering ideas how to curb the spread of cancer and various pathogens in the body by redefining physiological targets and applying natural, non-toxic components to control them. I have been privileged to work with Dr. Pauling, and to accompany Dr. Rath from his early days of struggle in implementing his discoveries. Almost 2 decades ago, we opened our own research institute in California, Silicon Valley, where we brought together a team of researchers to further elaborate on Dr. Rath's findings and develop groundbreaking approaches to health. In our most recent work, we finally put a scientific stamp on proving the true cause of heart disease, and as such, we could remove any intellectual obstacles against implementation of this new approach. You will hear all of this presented in more detail by Dr. Rath himself. And I am here to tell you that our research team will also share other exciting aspects of our work, showing how it is possible to control cancer with natural substances, and also our compelling findings on one of the most underdiagnosed and malicious disease, infectious disease in Europe and in the United States called Lyme disease, and another name for it is borreliosis. We also have other very interesting findings in natural approaches to diabetes, various forms of cardiovascular disease, viral and bacterial infections, and many, many others. But because we cannot address all of these topics today, we invite you all to visit our institute website, drrathresearch.org. Now, let me introduce you to cellular medicine in some more detail by taking a step back in the history of science and medicine. About 150 years ago, the discovery of the microscope allowed people to see our body's building blocks, the cells. They could compare cells originating from various organs and track down how they change. And it was a German doctor, Rudolf Virchow, who observed that cells originating from sick and healthy organs look different. And his finding laid down a foundation for a new field of medicine called cellular pathology, which today forms the basis of medical diagnosis and medical education around the world. However, while cellular pathology can identify the cellular origin of a disease, it can't explain the most common causes of cellular malfunction. About 50 years later, a Polish doctor, Casimir Funk, observed that our body needs specific substances to stay healthy. He recognized their essential role in maintaining life by naming them vitamins, from vita or vita, the Latin word for life. After that, during the first half of the century, there was a great interest in studying vitamins and also diseases caused by vitamin deficiencies. In this aspect, the Dutch doctor and scientist Christian Eijkman identified the vitamin B1 deficiency is not only the cause for the deadly disease beriberi, but also for peripheral neuropathy, for muscle atrophy, and even heart failure. For these discoveries, he received the Nobel Prize and later became the rector of the University of Utrecht. Also, the Hungarian scientist Szent György discovered vitamin C as the answer to the scurvy epidemic that had haunted mankind for ages. And he also received the Nobel Prize in Physiology in Medicine in 1937. By 1944, almost all vitamins were discovered. And over time, no less than 9 Nobel Prizes were awarded for the discoveries and elucidation of their roles in supporting the healthy function of our body's organ and optimizing our health. After just hearing this short introduction, some of you may be asking, why all this Nobel Prize-worthy knowledge is not being taught at the medical schools of the world? Why don't medical textbooks build on it and expand its application and study other micronutrients? Why? The answer is sobering. Vitamins and other micronutrients are natural molecules and therefore cannot be patented, like synthetic drugs. So, in a current medical system based on patents and profits, and with no economic incentives for the pharmaceutical industry to promote vitamin research, these facts have been neglected and even suppressed. Cellular medicine is a compellingly logical new basis of medicine. For the first time, we can explain why so many people develop heart disease, cancer, why we get diabetes and many other health problems. The answers can be found at the cellular level by studying the building blocks of our bodies. As we know, our bodies that are built of cells, which come in different shapes and sizes, perform various tasks in the body. But they all have one thing in common. They can't function without a continuous supply of vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and other biologically active substances which we call micronutrients. These micronutrients are needed to generate bioenergy from food we eat, to build various body structures and hormones, and to support all of the biochemical processes which make up our health and life. Without micronutrients, life is not possible. By starting at the cellular level, cellular medicine can identify the frequent causes of most chronic diseases, which is a lack of the proper quantities and kinds of micronutrients. Most of these micronutrients can be produced in our body and only come from our diets. But as we know, our diets are generally poor in micronutrients, are a result of the widespread use of modern food and agricultural technology. And this is just one of the reasons why micronutrients deficiencies are very common and affect even well-nourished people. So such a micronutrient deficiencies lasting weeks, months, sometimes even years, will result in cellular dysfunction, which consequently negatively affects the health of organs most susceptible to particular deficiency of particular nutrients. And this can be, I would say, generally described as a stage of poor health. We are not sick, but our health is not optimal. But over time, these deficiencies cause more profound metabolic changes and result in a disease. So now we can understand why insufficient intake of micronutrients can cause the weakening of our heart muscle, elevated blood pressure, osteoporosis, diabetes, and many diseases, including cancer. Again, at this point, you may be asking yourself, why, if we can save millions of people from suffering and dying from diseases that can be so easily and so affordably prevented with micronutrients, why we don't do it? Why are we pumping billions of euros, dollars in a healthcare system that has failed and continues to fail to eliminate hardly any chronic disease in so many decades? We already know the answer. There is no economic interest in investing in and promoting natural health approaches because natural substances can be patented and do not assure high profits like pharmaceutical drugs do. And this is one of the reasons why we founded our research institute, so we could pursue this direction ourselves. And I am here as a head of this institution, and together with our research team, we are proud to share with you today just some of our findings to illustrate what can be achieved with cellular medicine. One of the important and unique aspects behind our success in developing effective health approaches is the way we apply micronutrients. So instead of using individual nutrients, vitamin or amino acids, we select specific teams of natural compounds which, through their interactions and synergistic effects, work more effectively in preventing and correcting cellular malfunctioning. And this scientific principle is called nutrient synergy. Our research has shown that nutrient synergy has wide-ranging benefits because most pathologies, cancer, diabetes, many other, involve more than one molecular mechanism. Therefore, a magic bullet strategy using a single drug or a single nutrients approach can't effectively address such complex biological networks and bring lasting solutions. And this is why we have been selecting the right nutrients and combining them in proper ratios in a way that they can simultaneously affect the relevant biological pathways to restore a cell's healthy function. Many of you came to this event because of an interest in cardiovascular disease, and this topic will be covered in the next presentation by Dr. Rath. But I would like to illustrate that our nutrient synergy approach can be beneficial to combat a wide range of other health conditions. For example, take one of the most widespread infectious diseases, which is the common flu. We often take extra vitamin C during flu season or when coping with infection. So in our experiments, we compare the efficacy of vitamin C used individually to a combination of vitamin C with selected micronutrients on the infectivity of the common human flu virus type H1N1. And we measured viral infectivity as the activity of neuraminidase, which is the necessary enzyme for the virus to infect cells. You can see at this slide that vitamin C used alone can inhibit viral infectivity by about 20%. However, if vitamin C is combined in synergy with other micronutrients, this inhibitory effect was much more pronounced, reaching almost 80%. In addition, also, which we are not showing, to suppressing viral infectivity, our studies showed that micronutrient synergy has additional positive impacts on inhibiting virus multiplication and many other aspects. This example illustrates how important it is to select the proper combinations of nutrients so we can maximize their desired effect. And this study relates to cancer, which, as we know, is one of the most serious health conditions. And we used more than 50 human cancer cell lines, and we have shown that micronutrient synergy can effectively control key mechanisms of cancer, including tumor growth, cancer cell invasion, and metastasis. And you will hear about all of this today. But in this case, we search for the most effective micronutrients to inhibit the growth of breast cancer cells. We observed that vitamin C, or EGCG, which is specific extract compound from green extract, used separately could inhibit the growth of cancer cells by about 26%. So the growth rate, as you see on the slide, was reduced to 74%. The amino acids lysine and proline by themselves, they did not do much. However, when these nutrients were combined with EGCG and vitamin C, the cell growth was reduced to only 35%. And this is, and after adding a few other components, it was brought down to 0. It was inhibited 100%. And this is the result of synergy between these nutrients, because the final cell growth inhibition was much higher than the sum of the effects of the individual components. So these are just two examples among many showing that synergistically interacting nutrients provide better physiological effect than individual components. Even more, synergy does not require high doses of individual components. So in other words, we can achieve more with less. Here, now I would like to indicate another interesting aspect of nutrient synergy, which is its potential in developing safe and effective alternatives to specific prescription drugs. And I will illustrate this using the example of popular anti-flu drugs and also anti-inflammatory medication. In this experiment, we compare the antiviral activity of specific nutrient synergy mixture to two popular anti-flu drugs. You may know them, Tamiflu and amantadine. So we tested how the application of these agents at different stages of infection with the bird flu virus, we used H5N1, affects the survival of affected cells. So how we did it? We exposed healthy cells to the nutrients and drugs first 1 hour before infecting them with the virus, which could mimic the preventive aspects. Then we added them 1 and 2 hours after viral infection, which would correspond to the different times prescribed for taking flu remedies in real life. The efficacy of these 3 different treatments in protecting infected cells from being killed by the virus was evaluated after 3 days of infection. And here you see the results. As you can see, the pharmaceutical agents have to be applied at up to 50 times lower concentrations than micronutrients because of their toxicity to healthy cells. Tamiflu was significantly less effective when applied at more advanced stages of viral infection, which is, in this case, after 2 hours from adding a virus. And you can, as the green bar indicates, fewer than 50% of the cells were still alive when treated with Tamiflu. Amantadine was even less effective and demonstrated completely no cell protection at more advanced when taken at more advanced stages of viral infection. So adding amantadine 2 hours after infection was actually equivalent to doing nothing, because the same 20% cell survival rate was observed even without any treatment. So in contrast, as you see in the second set of bars, micronutrient synergy mixture was very effective even when applied at the more advanced stage of infections. So you can see that 90% of cells were still alive and not damaged by a flu virus, in contrast to pharmaceutical drugs. So, of course, this effect was in addition to positive effects of these micronutrients on other mechanisms associated with bird flu. In another study, we observed how micronutrients are effective in suppressing both the cellular expression and activity of the pro-inflammatory enzyme called COX-2. This is a cyclooxygenase. This enzyme helps release chemicals called prostaglandins, which are associated with pain, inflammation, progression of cancer, and many other diseases. And the global market for drugs blocking COX-2 is a multi-billion-dollar business. However, all available pharmaceutical products carry detrimental side effects. And for this very reason, one of them, the popular drug Vioxx, had to be taken off the market a few years ago. So this slide shows that micronutrients can offer a viable alternative. Our synergy combination could suppress the COX-2 expression by about 90%. It's a tremendous encouraging results. And this is in contrast to the popular anti-inflammatory drug ibuprofen, which had no effect on this particular enzyme. So this example indicates that there are safe and effective alternatives in addressing also inflammatory diseases. Let's now look at cellular medicine in its wider context. This research direction was developed as a response to the failure of conventional medicine to eliminate disease at a time when healthcare costs have been strangling the economies of many countries. According to the World Economic Forum and the United Nations, spending for non-communicable diseases such as heart disease, cancer, diabetes, mental and other chronic diseases will reach $47 trillion US dollars, which is more than 42 billion euros in 2030, in 15 years. And this forecast tells us another thing, that no significant breakthrough toward the prevention or control of these diseases is expected at this time, and we can't buy our way to better health. This lack of progress in eliminating diseases by pharmaceutically oriented medicine has its name. You may heard it as living with disease. No, I missed the slide. So now you may be familiar with this term or heard this term, living with disease concept, which is now presented as an ultimate goal and medical achievement. What living with disease means? Of course, controlling some disease symptoms with drugs, and at the same time making sure that the drug business is secure and expanding. And of course, there is no doubt that alleviating disease symptoms is important for improving the quality of life of a patient. But it can't replace the goal of ending the cancer epidemic, the elimination of heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, and many other health problems. Living without disease is our goal. Living without disease is a realistic, affordable, and achievable goal that can be accomplished by the pursuit and implementation of cellular medicine. It has to start from accepting the recognition of the root causes of diseases at the cellular level and prioritizing prevention as the most economical and effective way to have a healthy and productive society, and applying safe and effective science-based solutions to correct and maintain health. Cellular medicine represents modern, progressive thinking and offers guidelines on how to achieve, maintain, and promote health without draining the economic resources of individuals and whole nations, which is what we are seeing today. I feel proud and privileged to be a part of this exciting field of health science, to work with our pioneering research institute for almost 2 decades, and today, together with our researchers, to present our findings to you. And now it's my exceptional pleasure to introduce the next speaker, Dr. Matthias Rath, great scientist, discoverer, and a relentless fighter for scientific truth. I have had the privilege of working with Dr. Rath for almost a quarter of a century, sharing with him our global health mission. And I am sure he will inspire and encourage many of you to learn more about this exciting new field of health and join us in building a better future for everyone. Thank you for your attention.